Tonight we are back for another best ball breakdown on Fantasy Points YouTube channel. We're going to talk NFL schedule release, find out how much of the Week 17 schedule Scott already has memorized, hop in another best ball mania for draft. Welcome in. I am filling in for host Thomas Tipple tonight. So we are just getting through all the producer challenges of a first-time producer tonight, but it's all right. We're going to have some fun and talk some best ball here as usual with my usual co-host Scott Barrett. And we had a guest for tonight, but he just had computer troubles literally right as we went live. So we're just going to give him a few minutes to hopefully come back in. And then we will do proper introductions. Scott, have you? I'm assuming you've looked at the schedule release. Any overarching thoughts on it?
Oh my God, yeah, about 5,000 words of overarching thoughts. So I think forward looking at a schedule, I think it's overrated for the most part. The way everyone else does it. You do it the way I do it. I think there is an edge to be gained. It's like one of those micro edges. But basically, I look at schedule adjusted fantasy points per game allowed, which is actually somewhat sticky and very sticky at the polar extremes. Looking back at last season and then projecting out for this season, looking at who has the best early season starts to a schedule. So, who are we streaming? Who are we considering drafting? Then buying low or selling high on. Also measuring postseason strength of schedule, which is obviously massively important for underdog tournaments. And then what I do is, also overall schedule. But what I do is I look at schedule change last year versus this year. And in some cases, it could really have a dramatic effect. Like Cooper Kupp had one of the top two softest schedules last year. It's one of the top two toughest this year. The reverse is true for Justin Jefferson. So maybe that's an argument for Jefferson over Kupp. Although in my article, I argued not really, because Kupp's in the slot and like he's hit 16 fantasy points in every single game over the last 2 years, but one. But anyway, there's a bunch of guys like that. And you can read these paywalled articles to get a better sense of that. But I am going to introduce Hilo, our guest today. Very excited for this, who did a few shows with me during the DFS season last year. I know he's neck deep in best ball waters, so really excited to do a draft with him. Hilo, what's going on?
What's up, Jen? Sorry about that. That was impeccable timing. It was like my computer just decided I'm done for right now.
I think Chris's exact words are really hoping this goes smoothly. And I hear, oh no, my screen froze.
As I hit the go live button, I was like, I don't think I can turn back now. I don't think I can turn back.
Oh, that Thomas, we're missing you already.
Well, thanks for having me, Jens. I'm glad to be back and stoked to hit the best ball streets with y'all.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit of just NFL schedule release. I did one of your best ball podcasts last week. We talked a little bit of week 17, our favorite matchups, stuff like that. Any just overarching thoughts you have? Anything you've seen change in the best ball streets since we've had the schedule for almost a week now?
Yeah, we're starting to see some ADP movements on the expected top game environments, like Cincinnati and Kansas City getting all the love, and we're starting to see Joe Mixon. Well, he was moving before, but he's still going to continue climbing in ADP as people hunt those game stacks. And then there's a lot of the games that we talked about as kind of unheralded, where we're starting to see some movement as well. Like for example, Van Jefferson, like he was available 18th round for the longest time because people really just didn't realize that he's like healthy and going to be the wide receiver 2 in there. And the rest of like the conglomerate of Jets or Giants wide receivers who really just no one knows what to do with. We're starting to see a little bit of breakout there. Baltimore's an interesting one. Once the schedule released, we're starting to see that wide receiver trio kind of sneaking up in ADP. Zay Flowers being the breakout there. And I'm just kind of gobbling up Rashad Bateman while that happens, who I think I have as the wide receiver 1 there in Baltimore this season.
Yeah, Yeah, we talked a lot about the Ravens wide receivers and really liking that Week 17 matchup. But with all outside of Mark Andrews, the three receivers, Bateman, OBJ, and Zay Flowers, all basically going right next to each other. And we both talked about, yeah, Bateman was probably our preferred guy in that grouping. You're never really stacking more than one of those guys on a team right now with the way ADP is laid out. I really liked something you had mentioned. I mean, now that the first puppy is closed, it's unfortunately not really possible anymore. But you talked about reaching early to grab Mark Andrews or Lamar Jackson in the second round so that you could grab the other one in the third round, which is the only way to do it right now because they both have a third round ADP. And when you do it in a tournament like the puppy, that's like its own time capsule. Best Ball Mania 4 runs for 3.5-ish months. So we could see one of the two rise or fall in ADP where people will be able to get those pairings naturally without having to reach. But doing it in something like the puppy, I think was super interesting. And I'm sure there's other spots like that. But yeah, let's hop into a draft here.
Yeah, I love those. I call those snapshot contests where the draft window isn't as wide, obviously, as the full off season. And you can do some cool things because you don't get that massive ADP movements. You don't have a full 4 months where everyone's drafting these contests. So an example that out of the Dalmatian, which is the $101 single entry on Underdog, I had Jahmyr Gibbs fall to me. It's a single entry. I had Jahmyr Gibbs fall to me at 51, and I'm way below consensus on Gibbs this season, but that was like, I'll get my exposure on this confined contest with a minimal draft window, single entry. And that's might be one of the latest spots he goes in that contest. So being fluid and being able to adapt is key for sure.
Yep. Scott, do you have any favorite Week 17? Have you? I know we've talked offline a little bit about stacking in general in the Week 17 stuff and not going crazy with it. Is there any games that aren't obvious to you that you like really like? I know I'm kind of interested in. I think the Rams Giants game is pretty interesting just because I don't think either defense will be very good, but both have shown potent offenses at times and could blow up. Anything like that stick out to you as potential matchups that, while never reaching to make sure you get, but just stuff you can try to games that might be interesting to stack up and do one-offs and whatnot from?
Yeah. So my question to you is I'm starting to think that Week 17 stacks are extremely overrated and Week 15 plus 16 plus 17 matchups are underrated. Like there's all this attention and focus specifically on Week 17, but you need to do well 15 and 16 to get to 17. And who knows, if you just get there and get lucky, that could be more than enough. So in this article, I break down the best overall playoff schedules, weeks 15 through 17. And there's definitely some teams that stand out. The Packers wide receivers, for instance, +5 schedule adjusted fantasy points per game. The Browns are at -6.6. The Titans are at -5.9. And so, yeah, obviously I think a lot more highly of Christian Watson, who can be easily stacked with a Jordan Love. And it's an argument against Treylon Burks. It's an argument against the Browns wide receivers. Deshaun Watson also has a really tough postseason strength of schedule. I think Nick Chubb has a really good one. So just looking at different things like that, that's kind of what's been standing out to me. But as far as Week 17, no, I don't have anything to add other than, beyond the 5 million tweets you've seen on Twitter, other than to say it's probably being a little overrated.
Yeah, the Browns go Bears, Texans, Jets, weeks 15, 16, 17. Those first two in particular are obviously very awesome. Jets is probably pretty so, but not like a awesome run.
I mean, Texans were the best pass defense in football last year. Part of that is just their offense was so inept that teams and their running defense was so bad, teams could just run all day. But from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah. Hilo, Scott's had this take pretty much since day one that we started the stream that Travis Kelce should be the first pick in every draft. And we've got the 1-4 here. So I'm guessing we're definitely going to be in range to do that. I've been, I'd say, leaning against that take that he should be. I'm not against Kelce overall, but against him as the 101. What are your thoughts on Kelce and in best ball this year?
I think I have Kelce ranked at 8 overall in this format. Yeah, Cooper Kupp is my 1.01 hands down this season. Yeah, hot take season. But
both of you have pretty strong hot takes on the one.
I mean, I have no problem with Kupp at 101. I don't.
Yeah.
He's not going to be ranked there for me, but like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. It's a little bit kind of heavier theoretical based for me.
We're on the clock right now,
yeah.
so we're taking Kupp then.
We'll do Kupp then. We'll do
All right.
high-low special draft.
All right, sorry, high-low, go on.
No, I mean, it's a little bit more theoretical based, and it might take me a while to explain, but I think the gist of it is because there is that massive gap in the tight end landscape just being Kels and then everybody else. There's some interesting theoretical components that come up with respect to, like, Kelsey just had a historic season, and he still didn't come within 50 points, 50 half PPR points in underdog format of like the overall wide receiver one. So that delta to me, and yes, like you can make up that delta through roster construction, through
I just think part of that, sorry to cut you out. I think just part of that though is it's a lot more likely that Kelsey's going to finish as that wide receiver one than any other wide receiver, or is going to finish as the tight end one than any other wide receiver will finish as the wide receiver one. And there's 3 wide receivers being drafted ahead of him. So then it's like, well, okay, well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, that's totally valid. And I 100% buy that as well. For me, it's just a matter of like through roster construction. And if you do it properly with either a 2 or a 3 tight end build, you can come close in expectation to matching Kelsey, where the flip side to that with the wide receiver room, it's a lot harder to match the same overall season production that you could get from some of those wide receivers.
Yeah, that's been my take on it as well, is just even when you have Kelsey, you're just you're really leaving yourself in a hole at that wide receiver spot, especially with the way ADP seems like it's shaking out wide receiver wise this year. Like when you get to pick, 80 to 90, like the wide receivers there don't feel great to click on if you're really counting on them. It doesn't mean, like I said, I'm not totally against Kelsey, but I definitely think there's ways that taking him super early in the first round and passing on a Jefferson or a Chase or a Kupp or Tyreek can really put you in a tough spot later in your draft.
I don't know what it was last year, but I know in 2020 in PPR best ball, Kelsey on his own, no other tight end on the team, outscored the tight end 3, tight end 4, and tight end 5 combined in a best ball format where you're only taking the higher scorer each week. That's not including the flex spot. So I think we can underrate that. The only difference is, okay, it's half point PPR, and I don't know that he's giving you those insane spike weeks that Justin Jefferson with all of his 30+ point games last year, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase. And so that's been your counter argument, Chris. I've had trouble arguing back against. Last year, I think that's right, just because there really weren't very many late round or middle round wide receivers who did anything. But historically, like the 4 or 5 seasons before that, that's usually been a really good ground to go. And a quantity over quality approach has worked well at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, so we're coming up here. All the major QBs are on the board. I was kind of hoping Barkley might fall a little bit past his ADP to us, but that did not happen. Non-QBs, Nick Chubb, Chris Olave, Tony Pollard, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins.
Yeah, the high-low special start, like my ideal start, is Cooper Kupp, Nick Chubb. That's just like I'm hammering it as much as I can. I don't know why. It's just like the upside of that combo.
Yeah.
And
what do you guys think Chubb's? Oh, of course, he just goes right before us. So what do you want to do here then? I really
could
like
have done Mahomes and Kelsey. My favorite
stats. But that's the thing, and I didn't bring that up earlier, but we'll do it after. I'll jump into that after the pick.
Why not Derrick Henry?
I like Henry and Jacobs, and if you take one now,
what about Jacobs?
Jacobs is great too.
Yeah, take Jacobs.
I mean, but Derrick Henry's finished top 2.5 point PPR scoring in 3 or 4 straight seasons. It's kind of crazy to me he's going so late. I get the offense sucks. I get the game script concerns. I get Tajay Spears, but I mean, Jacobs is right there. What an absolute monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the game theory aspect of Kelce in the first is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's ADPs line up so naturally right now that there are so many rosters that start Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. You take Kelce in the first, and now you're almost thinking like, oh, well, I kind of have to take Patrick Mahomes at that point. You don't see it like every single time Travis Kelce's taken, but you see it at a very, very high frequency. And we're talking about a contest with 677,000 entries. So for me, that's just a very natural game theory funnel to avoid just through variance.
Derrick Henry or Ramondre, I'm guessing.
I'd sign off on either of those.
Yeah, I don't love the wide receivers here.
Yeah, I agree.
Lamar or Andrews is kind of interesting.
Scott, where do you have DK Metcalf ranked?
I don't know, like 4 rounds lower.
Yeah, okay, me too.
Ramondre or Derrick Henry?
I would say Henry.
Yeah, me too. So part of my reasoning with why I think the optimal start is Kelce plus Mahomes is you have to remember every other team is drafting typically 3 tight ends, typically 3 quarterbacks. If you go this route, you need at most 2. So that's extra draft capital to allocate at other positions. There tend to be, high upside potential league winners in late rounds, not last year, but in some other years. So there is some upside in that. But you could even just go Kelce and Mahomes and then just end there. If you make it to the bonus rounds and then Mahomes is QB1, Kelce is tight end 1, and they have to be the betting favorites for both. That could be enough. And then you have this massive, 4 roster spot advantage on everyone else. No one goes that route, but I think that's a good, leaning into the upside you need to take down a tournament of this nature that I don't hear talked about.
Yeah, my counter to that, and I've kind of thought a lot about that as well, is what you don't see in these drafts this year, and it's based off of the historical data and what we saw last year. You don't see 2 of the top 7 tight ends on rosters. My favorite 2 to do that with is somebody like TJ Hawkinson and Darren Waller, or some pairing like that. They have the same bye, so you can't really do that effectively. But picking 2 in the supposed tight end dead zone, because we're so ingrained that it's either the first or the last, right? And generally speaking, that is optimal. That is optimal theory. But because the field is simply just not doing that this season, I've been sprinkling that in at a higher rate just to get exposure to something that the field isn't doing.
Yeah, I actually think the best counter argument against Kelce right now is Darren Waller's ADP. I would rather have Waller at cost than Kelce for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawkinson Waller pairing I think is fine. I think Waller goes late enough. Doing it with tight ends that go a little bit earlier, I think is a little tough sell for me.
So
I
would say
Kittle
anybody to David Njoku is probably the sweet spot for that kind of.
Yeah, I'd say that's fine I'm fine with that.
I like Freiermuth too.
Yeah, I just more if you pair Kittle and Pitts or Hawkinson and Kittle or Goddard and Kittle, whatever, I feel like you're tying up a lot of resources in the overall lowest scoring position on your roster every single week.
Yeah.
And while, yes, you might be able to slip through, with a low owned Goddard later, in the playoff weeks because he has a down week, but you had Kittle that gets you through, and then Goddard's the one you need after. I just think a huge blow up from an elite wide receiver from that range could, just make up that difference in a big way that you can't turn. But like you said, if you're pairing Hawkinson and Waller or Njoku or any of these this range, I think that's probably okay. It's just when it's these top 3 or 4.
Hawkinson had more 35 plus fantasy point games last year than, I don't know, all but 12 wide receivers, maybe less than that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He did it with 2 different teams too.
Yeah, one with each, right?
Yep. Who's standing out?
This
to you
range
here?
is super interesting. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say,
I have a name.
My favorite of the lot just went Christian Watson.
That was my
He was my
favorite as
second
well.
favorite.
Jerry Judy's my second guy here on this list.
All right. So Keenan Allen is ADP wide receiver 24. He's finished top 12 in 6 straight seasons. It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I really like Keenan Allen here.
Keenan Allen was fun early because he was slipping to like the 6th round sometimes, which was
crazy.
outstanding. Yeah.
And it opens you up if Herbert does fall to a
Oh, good
stack.
call.
But the Mike Williams is gone, so that may. Oh no, we'll pick again.
Yeah,
before
Mike
that
Williams
guy.
stinks. Like, who cares?
I was just thinking, will he make it back to us? But he definitely can.
Those first 3 weeks last year didn't do it for you, man.
The first 3 weeks 2 years ago, and then what? Maybe 4 good games last year.
Yeah.
Maybe it was better than that. I don't know. He's dealt with injuries, but yeah, I'm just not a Mike Williams guy. Also, Joe Lombardi, who was weirdly obsessed with him, is no longer there.
It's gone, yeah.
Drafted a round 1 wide receiver.
Does that give you pause with Eckler up top?
I mean, not really. I mean, I totally get it. I think the new offensive coordinator, more downfield throws, things of that nature, but it's still a guy who's just been a fantasy juggernaut however many years in a row, and there's no competition there. The contract means they're incentivized to ride him until the wheels fall off.
We have not seen many ADP values in this draft so far. We kind of didn't get to talk about it a bit, but that's probably the latest I've seen the big 3 QBs go in the second round. I've yet to see any of them fall out of the second round, but that was pretty close.
Yeah, they're starting to split.
This is looking like a pretty ideal start to me, I have to admit.
Yeah, our wide receiver, we're definitely going to need some depth at wide receiver because we're getting close to that range where it just gets very gross.
Watch Hawkinson fall, because this is why I'm doing kind of this mindset is this like tier 2 of tight ends. People are just bypassing them in favor of wide receivers in this round so frequently that it's easy. Like Hawkinson in the 5th is kind of just like, I'll figure it out. Like, to me at least. Stream snipe.
Where do you think Hawkinson should be going?
Herbert's still there.
Yeah, I really like Herbert here.
Beautiful. That's my favorite. It's when you take a wide receiver you love. And
Scott doesn't want to quit the draft.
Yeah, finally. Right.
You've been rage quitting, dude?
I've been threatening to. Always sniped at my guys. Joe Mixon is just an obscene value here.
Oh, dude. Oh, my God. Joe Mixon started this draft cycle going in the 80s. In ADP.
Oh, my God.
I was just like, free.
Because if he's the starter, like he goes in round 3 at worst.
Yeah. Round 3 at worst. Yeah, it's just so stupid.
I don't know what it was. If it was the like off-season legal issues that people were worried about, but it's like when he's on the football field, he's 26 years old. He's gonna be fine.
He ranked 2nd in XFP last year. Like he's gonna be fine. They lost Samaje Perine.
And if you think that he's just going to continue to get stuffed at the goal line 15 times, like that's okay, but that's probably not going to happen.
Right.
Perine also wasn't very good last year. I know he had some good in terms of DFS blow up weeks, those couple weeks that Mixon was out, but it was purely a volume thing. Like he's not a super efficient runner.
And that's what backups running backs is.
Yeah.
It's just the volume
Mixon had better numbers in pretty much every category.
And it was career low numbers for Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett also stands out to me. You asked me before about DK Metcalf, and it just makes no sense.
Lockett is being drafted 3rd wide receiver on the Seattle Seahawks this season. Let that sink in.
He's finished top 15, top 20 in fantasy points per game each of the last 2 years. Metcalf hasn't finished top 25 each of the last 2 years. He's also like historically better in best ball, lots of spike weeks throughout his career, although not last year. Just one of the best values. Give me these old wide receivers, please.
Yeah.
We'll draft some rookies late for that late season upside.
What are our potential week 17 setups right now?
Oh,
Chargers
we have mad
play
time.
Denver. I know.
Denver.
The Raiders play. I forget who they play.
Indy.
Yeah.
Tennessee's plays Houston. Chargers play Denver. Already covered that. The Rams play the Giants.
Yeah.
We got mad time because all those teams are back stackable.
Yep.
Crazy.
Very much so.
All right. So Dalvin Cook, they're waiting for him to pass his medical, which could be July, and then they're going to trade him. They're not going to cut him. There's something about the contract where they can't cut him. They're going to trade him. Linked to Miami. I just told you all that. What do you think of his RB21 ADP?
I'm just going to continue chasing Madison, I think.
Where does he go?
Madison's definitely a
round.
ridiculous. Yeah.
8th round, something 80s. Like that.
Yeah.
Late 7th.
Probably James Conner might stand out to me most from that entire tier.
Yes. And his backup in the 18th round. We don't know if he'll remain his. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm not even sure who that is.
Keontae Ingram with an A.
Okay.
Is Cook... I honestly don't know if Cook's ADP goes up a ton. If that were what
the
happens
thing,
in Miami.
If Cook goes to Miami and people are going to continue drafting Dalvin in the 5th, 6th round, you're expecting him to be a 70, 75% plus snap rate back in Miami, which I don't think is likely at all to happen. So if he goes to Miami, while the efficiency will probably see an increase, I don't think that he's worth 8th or 9th round pick, kind of where Devon Achane is jumped up to now. He's probably around there is where I'd feel comfortable taking him.
I mean, Achane has to be one of the worst picks in the draft right now, just between where the other Miami guys go, and if something like
Wilson
that happened,
right now, just the cheapest of them all.
Pacheco, I think, is a strong ADP value. I think best ball drafters are sleeping on him, but Tyler Lockett's gone. That's fine. You have to draft Kadarius Toney. We've been sniped on him in every fucking league. You have to draft Kadarius Toney. Please.
I won't argue it.
He is going to just run 5 routes a game for 5
He's going to put up Tyreek Hill numbers and stay healthy and retire from rap and go to the Hall of Fame.
Is Toney a value at this age?
So my guy here
Absolutely. What do you think, Kylo?
I am well below consensus on Toney, but that's okay. For this build, you guys would have yelled at me if I would have suggested another running back before a 3rd wide receiver. So, I mean, Cam Akers is kind of my target in this range in a vacuum, just because the wide receivers, I think all these wide receivers are overrated. George Pickens, Marquise Brown, Treylon Burks, Deontay Johnson. I think they're all when we talk about best ball and what we're hunting for, spike weeks and yada, 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 all that stuff that we don't need to get into now, but they're very, very unlikely to provide many usable weeks, which we define as over the average at the position.
So part of my thinking or conversation I had with Chris was everyone is so focused on week 17, but historically what really moves the needle are top power law players, mid to late round players who just smash their ADP, sort of like Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase from Amon-Ra St. Brown from 2 seasons ago. Yeah. That has probably a more powerful impact than, not getting the perfect stack, but just stacking optimally. Yeah. And I look at Kadarius Toney and I just see unrivaled league winning potential. Sure, he can't stay healthy. He's a head case, all that stuff. But when he's on the field, he looks awesome. He's catching passes from the best quarterback in football. He has that potential to seize the vacancy left behind by Tyreek Hill. And then even if not, if they used him maximally, Patrick Mahomes averages 8 shovel pass touchdowns per season, which is just like this obscene cheat code where they're on the 4-yard line and he basically hands it off to a wide receiver, but he like throws it 3 inches through the air and the guy just runs in, not being touched, and scores. What if Kadarius gets that role? Because, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had that role. Mecole Hardman had that role, and those guys stink. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I just drool over his potential.
Once he got hurt, it was Jarek, who was funny going in the 18th round when this opened as well. But that's besides the point. Yeah,
Where's he now?
Kadarius, he's up in the 12th, 11th, something like that. 6-7 rounds of increase.
Yeah. Who do you like more, him or Pacheco?
For the value, oh my god! If we don't take Akers here, I'm gonna walk off the.
You don't want to take the Waller Cup.
Oh my god! I absolutely do not want Akers. You want Akers?
Yeah, because then you could get Staff, bro.
Staff?
Mm-hmm.
Stafford. Oh, what's the reasoning behind stacking a quarterback with his running back?
Well, that's a lot to get into. This is DFS theory. Now we're getting into.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
we can't have you walking off stream, but I mean, this is as close to an optimal start if we took Darren Waller. It's like a dream start. All right, sell me.
Well, look at all the tight ends on teams behind us. Waller's a guy that you can get to fall.
Well, if he falls, then I'm doing backflips. So what's the reasoning on stacking Stafford with Akers?
When a team succeeds, the running back's expectation.
We talked about this last year, by the way, on our DFS show. But go on.
Yeah. So when a team succeeds, the running back's expected fantasy points per game increases significantly. So we're talking 3 touchdowns or more. You're expecting to get more opportunities for your running back, and we know how important touchdowns are to those 2 positions. I did a study this offseason trying to find the correlation between touchdowns scored and the value that it provides for each fantasy position just as a whole. And the 2 that were highest correlated for touchdowns versus fantasy production were quarterback and running back. And then you bring in the fact that, like, through DFS theory, people just don't naturally like stacking a quarterback with their running back. But if you look at the numbers from last season, 4 of the 18 regular season Millie Maker winners involved a team stack of a quarterback, running back, and a pass catcher with a 1 pass catcher bring back from the other side. So 4 of 18, we're talking like 22%. And I know, well, through my observations, I can assume that the field is not utilizing that at 22%. So you're getting inherent leverage basically by bringing in some of this DFS theory for this contest that is now, once you make it out of your round, a DFS 1-week contest.
Yeah, so I get that they're positively correlated, and I know that to be true. I just don't know that it's true for spike weeks, for Stafford breaking our starting lineup and Akers breaking our starting lineup simultaneously. And with Akers too, just like so much of what he brings is purely on the ground. And I feel like, okay, he did well in the last 4 games last season when they really leaned just massively run heavy because Cooper Kupp wasn't healthy. I don't know, anything to say to that or
Yeah. So 2 seasons ago, this is probably the prime example. 2 seasons ago, Ryan Tannehill, relatively non-mobile. He scored touchdowns on the ground, but Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, who the quarterback is not known for tossing to his running back, and Derrick Henry was not catching passes this season. Derrick Henry was optimal in the optimal lineup in DFS 4 times that season. And in 3 of those, Ryan Tannehill was optimal. That's an eye-opener.
Right. So yeah, talking to JM, like we always talked about that. I just viewed Derrick Henry, Tannehill as the outlier because I don't know how it's rare to find an offense that's just entirely built around the running back where Henry, either scores 9 fantasy points per game or Tennessee wins and he scores 30 something. But I don't know, maybe Akers fits as well.
My counter to that is look at the setup of the Rams this season. Their defense is in a stark decline after they salary dumped everybody. We'll pick and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough spot now.
Wait, is Connor still there? No, he
No,
just
he
went.
just went.
No,
Yeah.
it just went.
Do we have a tight end?
We don't.
We can take Engram at ADP. That's fine. Because it gets gross quickly, as you said.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I don't. Man. Yeah, we'll take Ingram here, and then we'll figure out the rest later.
I forgot where my train of thought was going. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Cam Akers.
Tannehill and
Oh,
Henry
okay.
and-
Yeah. So look at the trajectory of that team. Like their defense start decline because they had to salary dump everybody but Aaron Donald, basically. Their Matthew Stafford is reportedly, allegedly, supposedly healthy coming into the season. And then they have basically their primary skill position players are Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers, and then what? Tyler Higbee and Van Jefferson are like, we don't know. And then it's like, who behind them? We don't really know. So to me, the Rams, still a Sean McVay offense, are setting up to have the potential. And again, this is theoretically, I don't know, they at least have it within their range of outcomes to be like Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams last season, where it was like one of them was hitting 30 points every week, basically. So to me, the upside between those two on that team, in that setup, in that offense with a shitty defense behind them, has all the makings of to be something that just absolutely smashes ADP.
Yeah, I think I just hate Cam Akers.
That's fair. And then you look at their running back depth, and it's like they didn't do anything to address the depth behind them.
Yeah, I mean that was the case last year too, when Cam Akers, clearly wasn't healthy to start the season.
Yeah,
he's just like he's beat 14.5 fantasy points 4 times in 30 career games. Like he couldn't even get starting work for just about the entirety of that sample. You can explain it away by the injury. He did look fucking awesome in those final few games, but
yeah, Jameson.
Yeah, I really like Jameson for this team because we need the
I didn't realize we were
star wide receiver potential.
I like Jameson a lot, and I like the fact that he got suspended because it dented his ADP.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 6 weeks of the season don't matter nearly as much as the final 3. So
yeah,
Aaron Rodgers, I think, is probably the best overall value among quarterbacks. I just don't know who to stack him with.
That's the thing. You have to.
Is Lazard still there?
He is. Yeah.
I like that. That's fine.
You have to basically front stack Aaron Rodgers. So I'll take Rodgers on teams where I've got Garrett Wilson and the running back already locked up, because the talent behind those two is like, do we have any spike week potential? Probably not.
So the only thing with taking Rodgers now, like we definitely want to try to get Stafford. No one.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to work on this team. I'm just stating that.
Well, I'm just more saying
QB 15 is kind of obscene to me.
Is this a QB3 team, or is Stafford and Herbert enough?
I don't want to sweat quarterback right now. I'd rather chase other positions.
My theory on Stafford is if you're taking him, the field is taking him on 3 quarterback builds, right? Because of all the uncertainty. If you take him on 2 quarterback builds and Cooper Kupp is the 1.01, how does Cooper Kupp get to the 1.01? By Stafford succeeding. And when that happened in 2021, Stafford was the QB6.
Yeah. And Herbert's not a bad, like Herbert alone could carry just about any QB if he hits his optimal outcome as well. So I don't think you have to force a 3 QB team with Stafford, especially if you have a guy like Herbert.
I also like the idea of adding another option, whether that be Tyler Higbee or Van Jefferson or Puka Nacua, to really just lean into that stack.
Yeah, Van Jefferson's super easy to do.
You mentioned the distinction between front stacking and back stacking. I've never heard that before, but I like that. That's smart.
Yeah, it just kind of gives you a mental roadmap of what I have to be thinking at what time in the draft, when I'm obviously thinking about the most important time, which is the playoffs.
Who's your preferred, or who do you what's the second best player on the Rams receiving room, including tight end? Is it Higbee? Is it Van Jefferson? Is it a rookie like Puka? Is it Tutu Atwell?
It's Van. Yeah.
That's my lean as well.
I'd probably go Higbee. I think he stinks. It's just obscene volume.
I don't know if we see the same level of. They were really forced into that last year in a way that I think more than they were probably comfortable with.
Right.
His last season, Higbee's like routes run rate was insanely unpredictable. So it was like they would alter the game plan, and obviously they had so many injuries to deal with and stuff. But like for a 4 to 6 week stretch in the middle of the season, he was just like a blocker, and then they started running him out in routes, and he became like the primary pass catcher.
They were pulling him at the red zone too. Do you remember that, Chris?
Yeah. Would you consider
Rashad Penny stands out to me? I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, he stands out. Would you consider Tyler Boyd here with Kadarius Toney already in the team, or is he kind of only in Bengals stacks?
I don't see any upside for Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, for me, he's only as a secondary stack option.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, nobody else in really. Yeah, Penny is definitely my favorite of this range. And then when we come back around.
So talking about like our roster construction at this point, we still have a lot of viable options of where we can take it. You can do a 2 quarterback build from here. You can do a 2 tight end build. You can do a 3 tight end build. You can stop at 4 running backs, which not a lot of people are doing because we have 4 running backs in the first 10 rounds. So the flexibility where we're at right now is a comfortable place to be from like when you're drafting.
Yeah, we definitely don't have to. Yeah, we easily could get by with just these 4 running backs if that's the way the board falls to us. Like each one of these guys theoretically has starter potential to them. I know like Penny's might be a bit of a reach, but DeAndre Swift isn't healthy. At the very least, Penny's going to give you spike weeks throughout the season. At random times.
That's the value of Penny in the 10th round is you can expect maybe 4 to 5 spike weeks out of his role, and what he's done in rush yards over expectation on an inferior offensive line. And now he gets like the Eagles offensive line.
I don't think it would be crazy for him to get cut before the season. He's getting paid like basically no money. I also would be surprised if he didn't end up on some roster, but there definitely would be a hit to his value if that did happen.
100%.
I think there's a better chance he leads the team in carries than gets cut by far. I know they're not paying him anything, but what's the alternative? Boston.
They're not paying Swift anything.
Right.
Yeah. They do like Kenneth Gainwell, but they're not paying any running back anything.
I know.
Well, Gainwell's sort of redundant to Swift, whereas they need that sort of bruising early down back, which they turn Miles Sanders into.
I'm just saying if they're getting down, they got to get down to 53. They're going to keep an extra cornerback or offensive lineman or D lineman if they feel like they have guys on the edge over a 4th running back.
Can we click on some positions here? Mingo, I guess. Are you a Chig guy? I feel like you're a Chig guy, Hilo.
No, I'm actually not.
Okay. Can we click on some positions?
I feel like we want to go wide receiver here.
Mingo. All right, click on tight end. Komet, Dulcich, meh. Running back. Yeah, at cost, definitely Van Jefferson. Running back. Oh, no, yeah, just Mingo, I guess. Unless you guys have an alternative.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that
maybe he just walks into wide receiver 1 volume or something.
Yeah, he plays. That's actually it gives us Evan Ingram plays him in week 17. Maybe they're the guys you need. Who knows?
You heard it here first, folks. Evan Ingram, Jonathan Mingo for all the money, week 17.
I took a Jamal Agnew 18th round, and I was like, "What if he's the one you need?" Because I was looking to bring back a Carolina piece, and I was like, yeah, sure.
All right, can we outline targets? Can we just go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end?
So we definitely want Stafford. We probably want to target him though.
We want Stafford, and then Tannehill's always there in a worst case scenario.
Yeah, we could do Tannehill if we had to.
Running back.
Sam Howell? What?
Are you a Sam Howell guy?
I'm a Sam Howell guy because I'm a Washington Commanders guy.
He's fun, dude.
Yeah.
If he starts all year, that's that's a home run pick.
Exactly. I mean, it's the whole reason Justin Fields was a 10th, 11th rounder the entire offseason last year was like the uncertainty there. Well, Sam Howell's like, he's not Justin Fields, but he has some rushing upside and he's playing in an Eric Bieniemy offense. So it's like, okay, I'll take 18th round shots on that.
What about a washed ass Ezekiel Elliott?
Oh, I'd like the free agent running backs.
What are the 5 teams he lands on where he jumps 5 rounds?
I don't think I think no matter what team he lands on,
Yeah.
he goes up to some degree. I don't know, it could vary how high, but he's like people. The second he signs with the team, he's going to go higher than where he is. Like if he ended up back in Dallas,
right? He stinks. He's cooked, but like,
yeah, I'm about as anti-Zeke as there is right now.
There's a bunch of donkey coaches out there who want him to get, I don't know, 12 or more carries per game.
Yeah,
just running into his offensive lineman.
I think Beast Mode wants him to see work again.
Can you click on wide receiver?
I think I like Fournette a little bit better than Zeke of the free agent guys. Like Fournette was, on the field more last year because Tom Brady insisted on being on the field more, and I think some other team might also see that and just give him.
He weighs 240 and he can pass protect.
Right. Yeah. So wouldn't be crazy for him to fall into some good games here and there for wherever he ends up.
What do you guys think about Jalen Hyatt? Fits our game stack. It plays that variance role of we don't know who the pass catcher is going to be in New York.
Yeah, the Giants wide receivers are tough as a whole. I definitely don't like Wandale. I just don't know what the upside is for a smaller slot receiver in that offense. Hyatt definitely has higher upside.
I just think there's way too much risk that he's not even a starter for maybe the entire season. I think Darren Waller is the wide receiver 1, and then it's, I don't know, Slayton, Hodgins, Jamison Crowder, Paris Campbell, Sterling Shepard. They didn't spend a lot of draft capital on him. This wasn't a prospect I liked. It's not a pass offense I'm super excited to draft outside of Waller. So I'm not really on him. But you never know. He won the Biletnikoff last year. That's pretty cool. I would say Shaheed stands out most to me, but it's kind of the same thing where it's like, I don't know that he's a starting wide receiver in 3 wide receiver sets. But, insane spike weeks. He led the league in percentage of catches, gaining 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 yards. So big play threat, elite yards per route run from a rookie.
What about, so we could tack on Higbee to our Rams stuff.
Komet's interesting to me, as is Greg Dulcich. So I think either of those.
Kind of like Dulcich as well. But we'll go Higbee.
What?
You just said you liked Higbee.
No, I said I liked Komet and I liked Dulcich. I liked Higbee 3rd.
I didn't know you were putting him in order. I thought you were just listing.
Sorry. Komet, his last 10 games with Justin Fields had a 50% touchdown share. Would have ranked as like the wide tight end 2 by fantasy points per game. It was all touchdowns, but like whatever, that helps in half point PPR. And then Dulcich, the 5th most receiving yards per game by any rookie tight end in 35 years. And then Higbee sucks ass, but he's going to fit our Stafford stack. So we got that.
Do we want to take Stafford here? So our next pick when we
I think that makes sense.
So but nobody else on the board has a reason to take him. We could try to push it and see if he falls.
I mean, our luck in this has just been so bad. And this is like the one draft I like minus Akers for Waller.
My bad.
No, it's okay. This is it's supposed to be the guest show. I kind of just hijacked it this
time. Hilo, what are you doing when you're lining up stacks? Are you generally pushing it to see if you can get guys to fall to you, or are you?
I think when we have the RB1, wide receiver 1, and tight end 1, I think you got to reach a little bit.
This is true. It depends is the answer to your question, Chris. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big reach, but I don't know. In general, I'm usually trying to push it because my theory is somebody else is going to have it out there, and then some other combo. I don't know if this late it matters though. Definitely in the earlier rounds, I'm usually pushing it.
You talk about the concept of combinatorial ownership, which again, DFS concept, but in DFS, we're talking about combinatorial ownership as it pertains to 9 roster spots. So that's doubled in best ball on Underdog. So you almost don't have to worry about it at all. No 2 team drafted in this contest, and it has 677,000 rosters, is going to be the same.
That's
Chris,
true.
can you click on quarterback really quick? There is a quarterback being drafted outside of the top 25. There is no doubt the team views him as the starting quarterback, and he led the league in fantasy points per dropback last season. Who is it?
Wait, say that again.
He led the league in
oh,
fantasy
it's
points per
Purdy.
dropback last season. There's no doubt he's the starter.
It's Purdy,
Yeah.
but there's not no doubt he's the starter.
That's what I know. That's just what Ian Rappaport said. He said, talking to the 49ers, there is no doubt in their mind that Brock Purdy is the starter. It's just a question of whether he's ready for week 1 or week 2.
Yeah, I like that too, because teams that I'm only taking Brock Purdy if I have one of the top 3 players in San Francisco. And Debo's not a member of that for me this year, which is weird considering his 4th round ADP.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that. I don't really have a strong take there. It's just, I don't know. What he did 2 seasons ago was incredible, but didn't seem sustainable. And now Christian McCaffrey, there's some overlap and redundancy there. It's hard to stack him and feel amazing about it outside of McCaffrey, because even Kittle too, his usage tanked when everyone was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not personally sold on Purdy being like, he just feels so much like the next Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard.
Yeah, I still think there's value in that though. Yeah, it's just like, how many fucking scrubs has Kyle Shanahan, coached up to get spike weeks, right?
And the 49ers are the betting favorites to win the NFC, and they don't even know who their quarterback is.
Right.
Yeah, that's it's definitely, if he's the starter, he's definitely going to have some spike weeks. It's just, he's got to hold on to that job, I guess.
Gerald Everett fits our build. Cole Kmet, I said I liked.
Greg just really fits our build.
Gerald Everett, we talked about the offensive coordinator change. Gerald Everett is somebody that I feel like the field is sleeping on immensely.
So I want to hear that. Shane Steichen, am I mixing? Who's the GM for Tom Telesco? Those freaking alliteration names. Tom Telesco said, part of the reason we drafted Quentin Johnson is we really love what his yards after the catch ability does for Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett. And it was so weird to me that he said Gerald Everett's name instead of Mike Williams' name. So maybe the team really likes him. They like 5 minutes after that too, he was like, they're like, are you going to bring in a tight end? And they're like, no, we really like our tight ends.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking with Everett?
Yeah, I mean,
Dalton Schultz 2.0.
What Kellen Moore was able to get out of Dalton Schultz, and it's a very tight end friendly scheme because he works to clear out space to get mismatches, and the tight end is a really easy way to do that against immobile, or I guess cement foot linebackers or undersized safeties. So the mismatches that offensive coordinators are able to generate with tight ends, and Kellen Moore incorporates that pretty heavily into his scheme.
Over their last 19 full games with Dak Prescott under center, CeeDee Lamb averaged only 1.4 more fantasy points per game than Dalton Schultz. And if you throw out that one game he buried me in DFS because Avonte Maddox went down in the second drive and Schultz actually overtakes him. So I'm not drafting much CeeDee Lamb, but I'm with you. I think Schultz is just a guy, but he was an absolute machine for fantasy. So I like that.
Yeah.
Did we just lose out on all the fun tight ends? Fuck. Oh
no, we won't there. We have Herbert too. I mean, it really makes a ton of sense. And then we can
Scott, I have very little CD this year as well.
CD's still at the turn, right? In the I will not have a lot of CD probably as well. I'd rather have AJ Brown. I'd rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I'd rather have Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
you can keep going.
The list keeps going. Yeah.
Right. Well, glad we're on the same page there. I see Van Jefferson.
Ooh, 5-team stack.
Hey, man, they went to the freaking Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, dude. Nothing's changed on the offense.
And their
really.
defense
I mean,
is by
Allen
far
Robinson
the worst
left.
it's ever
Yeah.
been.
Exactly. I'm very high on the Rams. It's wasn't supposed to come to us stacking the entire offense, but but here we are.
Other than Van, I mean,
What about your guy, Kenny Pickett, Chris?
my guy, Kenny Pickett.
Chris has been begging me to draft
It's
Kenny
not
Pickett.
my guy at all.
Gross.
Scott is the Kenny Pickett truther here. Even though we quickly found out. I am kind of rising on the Steelers offense, though, to be fair.
I
think they
in
were
this-
better in the back half. of
in
the
this
year.
range. I
Oh,
think
JM
there's-
probably would have a shit ton of Kenny Pickett.
Oh yeah. We were on Kenny Pickett stacks in DFS a mini time.
Sorry,
This
what were you
range,
gonna
though, yeah, the wide receivers here are viable. I think Van Jefferson, Rondale Moore, Curtis Samuel. I think all of them have spike week upside.
I hate Rondale Moore so much.
Where I'm
What about-
taking Rondale Moore is backstacking any team that I have a Philadelphia piece for week 7.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Why not Greg Dortch?
You can do that too. I'm not
I
opposed
just-
to it.
I've just thought Greg Dortch is better than him for a few years, and
What
Yeah.
about Isaiah Hodgins?
these fucking Giants wide receivers, man. I get it. I don't hate it. Can you click on wide receiver though, just to see? Because Justin Ross, John
Yeah, I
Mechie,
like
dude, John
Justin
Mechie is so much of a better pick.
Yes.
All
But
right,
you
let's
can
take
wait.
Van here. Man, I can't believe we just stacked up so much Rams.
I love it. That's what you need to do. So when we talk about stacks, I always come back to sophomore season Patrick Mahomes. Whichever team had the most Chiefs players was the team that would have won millions of dollars if underdog existed.
Mhm.
That was it. It didn't. Week 17 stack didn't matter. Week 15 stacked, just whoever had the most Chiefs, game over, because they were all, finished top 5 at the position and were being drafted in double-digit rounds.
Who was the running back that year?
Kareem Hunt.
That was Kareem Hunt. Yes.
Well, he was going round 12. Then Spencer Ware suffered an injury, and he was going
Spencer
round 3.
Ware. Good name. Yeah.
That was the original Exodia. Was Kareem Hunt rookie season?
Yeah, I like Mechie. So, all right, how many picks do we have left? We've got what, 3?
I wish we had like 6 more picks.
Yeah.
I think this is
I
a
know.
great team.
So we're done at tight end. I
Done at
think we should
quarterback,
probably
really.
be done at quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with 3 picks. I would say 2 of them have to be wide receiver at least.
Yeah.
Concur.
Okay. So
And then I've got 18th rounders at running back for days if we need them. Go ahead.
Can you just click on wide receiver just so I see what's looking?
I
Mechie,
definitely like Mechie.
Palmer works. Fuck Palmer.
No,
That was another
honestly.
guy. Telesco shouted out, but he sucks. Robert Woods. I don't know if you guys have a take there. He's probably dust, right? But there's a chance he's not.
I do
No,
like
he's
grabbing
awesome.
one of these Houston guys with Henry having a big game in week 17.
Tim Patrick was at the Nuggets game with sitting next to Russell Wilson.
Yes. And Sean Payton.
Yeah, we never got our Denver week 17 run back with the Chargers.
I have some good round 17, 18.
Is Marvin
Tim
Mims
Patrick.
still? Did Marvin Mims go?
No,
Yeah,
he
did.
got shot up the board.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, we could still do Slayton late if we wanted.
Fuck Slayton. Much rather have Justin Ross. Where are you at on Justin
Yeah,
Ross? High
okay.
low.
I was hammering him early as an 18th
Hell
round
yeah.
pick until I started finding so many more that I liked.
Mhm.
But yeah, I kind of lucked into a lot of like Patrick Mahomes, Jerick McKinnon, Justin Ross with
Oh, that's awesome.
Joe Mixon, and it was like I was just hammering those guys because they all seemed like super values to me when this contest opened, and it just lined up that they're playing each other in week 17.
I really hope you invite me on your yacht.
Yacht party.
That's awesome. Whoa, Chris, I didn't know you could do that. You could pull up comments.
Yeah, I got all the
Damn.
power at this
We
Yeah, he's
draft.
got
don't
the
need you
power,
anymore,
dude.
Thomas. You have any love for Tyquan Thornton?
Since the schedule release, I'll take some late Thornton if I have some Buffalo pieces. But it's primarily for me, that's kind of like a matchup I don't really want a ton of, to be honest.
Is the New England stack the latest stack going in best ball? Probably, right? Maybe
Probably.
Washington. No, Washington Dotson goes too early.
Yeah, Dotson and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, just nobody wants to draft New England players other than
Jasicki's right
Ramondre.
there too. I mean, that's not a bad idea. They could suck the entire fucking season, and then Mac Jones throws for 380 and 3 touchdowns and pays off.
And Pat Kerrane's roster last year had 3 New England Patriots and 3 who they play Miami.
Yeah, it was Miami.
3 Dolphins.
Yeah, and Mostert and Thornton and Jacoby had good games, right?
Yeah, it was like they put up 15, so it was enough.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt. That could be our running back 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at on Khalil Shakir?
Mechie went. Do you want to grab like Robert Woods?
Not particularly.
Yeah, I'd say let's take Kareem Hunt.
I'm fine with that.
And then we'll figure out wide receivers. That's not tough to do.
Another guy that will sign.
Jerome Ford's another good pick too, to be honest. But Kareem Hunt.
I like Shakir. I think the Bills would be smarter to use more Shakir and not as much Dalton Kincaid in the slot. I think playing your uber athletic tight ends in the slot over average to above average receivers is, not as efficient as people make it out to be. Shakir definitely showed some stuff last year in certain spots, and he seemed to open up the offense. So really, when they target him, Kincaid is not a bad player by any means, but I don't think it gives their offense really what it needs, which is just get some separation, get more guys that can do something down the field with the ball in their hands. Gabe Davis hasn't been able to live up to that role, unfortunately. Shakir is a guy that I definitely think could be good for them in the slot if they committed to it.
I just don't
along that same lines, like Dawson Knox is a screaming late tight end value. Right?
He is, because he's going to play tight end for them, and Kincaid's not. Yeah.
I think Kincaid is why they drafted him where they did. I think he just gives them so much maneuverability in the red zone. They're going to throw some funky stuff in the red zone this year.
What about
Tim
Slayton?
Patrick?
I was going to say Slayton. We've got the massive Ram stack. There's got to be a giant doing something in week 17.
I'd go Tim Patrick because Slayton's undrafted most of the time. So you can probably just get him last pick.
I'm fine with that. Totally fine with that.
Puka Nacua.
We have enough.
Add a 6th.
Really, I guess, yeah, you can pick any of your most of the Giants are still there.
Yeah, you're right. We need a Giants. It's just, who the hell is it? That's probably the best counter.
I don't know. This order just makes no sense with the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I wish we had Darren Waller on this team. when we get to week 17, Akers scores negative points and Waller explodes. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, Akers has a temper tantrum and gets benched for 6 weeks.
So if I had to rank these guys, I think Slayton, Hodgins, Shepard would go first for me, because guys like Wandale, just even if you're right, like what do you write about? He's gonna be their slot guy and also like trick play guy, get a lot of low ADOT targets, not going to be a big touchdown scorer. He just doesn't have that upside in him. Whereas Hodgins, Slayton, Shepard all could be. Shepard and Slayton have been already at times.
Yeah, so this is interesting theory about like how NFL teams work. And a lot of NFL teams that have a Z wide receiver that is fast but is not efficient, so Kansas City Chiefs with Marquez Valdes-Scantling, they utilize them simply to manipulate safeties. You see it all the time with the Chiefs, and what Eric Bieniemy did. He would utilize MVS, and that's why we would joke he was just out there running wind sprints, because literally they had a play designed to have Marquez Valdes-Scantling either run like a deep crosser and out, something to draw the safety's attention. And in a league that's dominated by too high now on the defensive side of the ball, manipulating those safeties is so important as an offensive coordinator. So like Darius Slayton, I would expect to lead this team in wide receiver snaps because he is the safety manipulator. And now you're just like, is he going to see a targets per route run rate that means anything? And if the answer is like potentially or like maybe moderately, then he has value.
Yeah, and of course he gets taken. So
yeah,
all the hype that we just built for Slayton.
Yeah, and that's also why like I'll take shots on MVS because I think his ADP is stupid right now.
Yeah, because he's going to run the most routes on the team.
He's going to be on the field the most out of the pass catchers, other than Travis Kelce.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Over a player's last 13 healthy games with his current starting quarterback, he averages 8.8 targets and 16.6 fantasy points per game. Who is that player?
I'm guessing
he's on the board.
Is it Shepard?
Yeah. Just happens to span 4 seasons. But yeah.
He's played 17 games across the last 4 seasons.
I mean, there hasn't been any talk of him not playing, right? Yeah, he re-signed.
Yeah, but he's had like 6.
Bryce Ford Wheaton, undrafted free agent. Let's do it.
I mean, Paris Campbell, they gave a bunch of money to. I think they hyped him up to be, we really needed speed on the outside. Oh, fuck. We have to pick.
Shepard or Campbell?
Shepard.
Neither. Shepard, I guess. Yeah.
Fuck. Gross. You blew it.
Richie. Yeah.
Slayton would have been perfect.
God,
you never know. Maybe fate intervened.
Yeah, let's see. All right, so we take Waller at 76, come back around, and take James. No, I did it backwards. Connor went right before us. That would have been the nuts move. You get Waller and then Connor, or even Montgomery for that matter, to come back around to you. Yeah, there was no running backs we liked for a while though after Cam Akers, but that'll give me a good chunk of my Cam Akers exposure for the year, probably. We end up with a lot of Derrick Henry teams on these streams too.
Good.
Yeah, I know. Like Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry in the third is just stealing, basically.
Josh Jacobs would be what, the 104-ish, like 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think this team turned out nice. I mean, we're all in on the Rams.
Love this team.
We got stacks. We've got enough week 17 mini correlations in there. The Mingo, Evan Ingram, week 17 to win it all.
The hammer.
All right.
Go to the breakdown of the roster, the like positionally.
Yeah. So Herbert and Stafford at QB, Jacobs, Henry, Akers, Penny, Kareem Hunt at running back, Kupp, Keenan Allen, Tony, Jameson Williams, Mingo, Van Jefferson, Tim Patrick, Sterling Shepard at receiver, Evan Ingram, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett at tight end. I do think we could be an issue at wide receiver if things don't break right for us. Like Tony doesn't get on the field. Jameson Williams is obviously out for 6 weeks. Can Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, plus our back half of the draft really sustain us through the season? Might be tough.
Well, Cooper Kupp is the 101, so we're good there.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel good about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we have enough depth that, the risk in a Kadarius Toney doesn't really scare me too much. Yeah, I don't know.
But that's also
Tim Patrick could be wide receiver 4. Sterling Shepard could be wide receiver 4.
If you're taking, this is interesting theoretical discussion too. If you're taking Kadarius Toney, he's better served as like your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 range. Whereas he's going, typically we see him like wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 range. Because if he hits ceiling, he's going to hit ceiling hard.
Yeah.
And being able to allocate more strength to other positions on the roster and account for Kadarius Toney hitting hard, he's more valuable as your wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4.
Yeah, if you're taking Tony where you're taking him, he's going to be your wide receiver 2 or 3 at worst. Like if Tony is your wide receiver 4 or 5, then it was probably a bad pick. All right, we'll hang out with us 1 second. We'll close out of this draft and give us our closing thoughts. There we go. Nice. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Hilo, for hopping on this stream with us. Tell us about where everyone can find your work, your guys' best ball product, a 1 week season, and just everything you got going on.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. First of all, guys, that was a blast. Always enjoy shooting it up with the Fantasy Points team. But yeah, find me over at 1 week season, primarily working over there, working with 33rd team and NBC as well, but a little bit part-time for those two. But OWS, we just launched the Best Ball Plus product the Monday following the NFL draft. If you are looking to find a program that is designed to train your decision-making process and become better at handling a best ball draft strategically, that's the product for you, basically, because we are heavy in the theoretical components and training the decision-making process to become a better player.
Yeah. You mentioned when I did your podcast, you guys are doing 90 best ball podcasts between now and the start of the season, which is a ridiculous amount, but there's tons of best ball game theory and stuff like that to talk about all the way up leading to the start of the season. Scott, any closing thoughts?
No, this is a blast. We need to get Hilo on again if he's willing.
I'm in, man.
I think you're the perfect guest. We can have some fun debates when we disagree on a player or two.
Yeah.
Love your the knowledge you bring, the game theory element as well. So always a fun time, and for sure we got to get you back on.
I'll be there, man. Let me know.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back next week for another best ball breakdown.